Hey everyone, it's Amber here from Lavender Moon, and I am here today on our very special paranormal. Finally got it together. We're here with Jennifer Ball, Jennifer Ball's Witch House, or I'll say Jenna from Jennifer Ball's Witch House, and we are here with Courtney, opposite, Eerie Witchcraft. Do I say Eries or Eerie?
Eries. Either would work, because where the Erie came from was kind of my Native American roots in where I'm from. Erie or Eries, either works, because it's just, yeah.
Okay. Just got to make sure
Sorry.
I'm saying it right. I want to say hello to Julianne Victoria. Hello. And to Marina.
There we go.
Hi, Marina. Good evening. This is going to be really fun. This has been long awaited. I've been waiting to talk to these two ladies about this subject. If you haven't already subscribed to their channels, please do. They're in the description box down below. Aloha, Jonathan. Lots of fun things on both of their channels. Could you tell us about your channel?
Who? Me?
Oh, Jenna, yeah. Could you tell us?
Oh, okay. You cut out a little bit.
Hasn't subscribed.
Okay, well, I'm from Jennifer Ball's Witch House, and I primarily cover independent tarot decks. I get a lot of independent and self-published tarot decks that I showcase on my channel. And every once in a while, I might throw in a little something witchy, maybe share a Sabbath with you, or a ritual of some kind, or, tell you some witchy thing. And of course, there is always life updates, what's happening with me, kind of thing. And that's pretty much my channel.
Awesome. And Courtney. Go this way. Courtney, can you tell us about your channel?
Sure. So my channel's kind of like a come play on the dark side. So I talk mostly about my advancements in my own craft and spirituality, and my journey working with the demonic and other things. And I also like covering odd stories of dark lore or mythology and other stuff like that. And sometimes I do live tarot readings too. Starting to get used to that.
You're very good at it. I know you're being modest. Hello to everyone. Hi, Giselle, Matt, John, Patrice. It's so nice to see you. Of course.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Love you guys.
Irish gang. We already said Marina. I'm going to say hello again. We've got Blind Wolf. We've got Jonathan. Hi, Nick Casborn. How are you? And I think I said Julianne Victoria. And everyone, welcome. We are going to have a really fun chat. Let the chat begin. It's going to be demon chat. That's what we're talking about. Demon talk, whatever I named it. And I'm going to start it off with a very interesting thing that we were talking about just before we started. Something that we mentioned in the last one. I was with Jenna. And we talked about why did demons not seem to harm some people who work with them, or why do they have positive interactions, or they could kind of command the situation, and then why we have other cases of demons or demonic activity where people invoke them without really understanding what they're doing with them, and things just going on. Why does that happen?
So, go for it, Courtney.
Okay. Where's my sign? Sorry, I'm scatterbrained today. So, in my opinion, there is a few reasons why you could have mixed reactions from them. It would very much come down to different scenarios, like context behind it. If it's just a normal person and they're, well, normal person, you know what I'm saying, someone that doesn't practice, and say they're having issues with a demonic entity, first you would need to distinguish, is it actually demonic? And if it is, then why is it there? Someone could have been baneful and put it on the person or family. It could be a bloodline thing. Or it is possible that they invited it somehow and the spirits kind of messing shit up, trying to get their attention. Like, hey, you know, you called me here. What are you doing? Type of deal. So in my opinion, it could be a variety of those different aspects or reasons, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, you're making.
That makes perfect sense.
It does. I should also note that honestly, there are very few actual demons in our reality, because they don't come just because they want to. They're far too advanced to even really care about us very much. You know?
Exactly.
So there's a lot of, something else we talked about earlier was that there's a lot of sensationalism placed around demons and working with demons or coming across demons. And it's just that, it's sensationalism. And that's why, another reason why we're here is to talk to you about the realness of being and working with demons.
Right. That's an excellent point too. Yeah. I just wanted to add in there too, talking from a practitioner's perspective, though, while working with these entities, we understand that it is a power of exchange between the practitioner and the entity. So when we are calling them, we have specific purposes in mind. We have a pact usually, or petition, a way that we are going to present what we need to work with and why we need this entity. Very much like a businessy type of aspect. So I did want to add that as well. And usually we'll do something in return for the spirit for helping.
That's something that I think is key. There's everyone. So if if I'm like interrupting people, that's why. Sorry about
Mercury.
That. But I think that that's a really important point, and we find that hauntings or whatever it is that usually occur, when they occur, usually someone's calling those sorts of beings in for fun, or in a kind of fun sort of like a game, or there's
to see
no
if they're
particular
real.
Purpose.
Right.
Right.
We're also, I guess we're also here to probably warn you about the fact that please don't do that, because it really is only going to wreak havoc on your own life. And, you know, my feeling is that if a demon gets to play like that, it will. You know, if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to have its way with you. And usually it doesn't end well for you.
I'm going to add to that they're going to play with you either way.
Yes, but it's
they'll act out
might be to a different extreme.
Right.
If you know what you're doing as opposed to not knowing what you're doing. I think it can have a far greater effect on you.
Well, I feel like that's where they get their bad rep too, because when you're working with one, it very much is a disruption in your life, because when you call on these entities, you're asking for that. So if I was, for example, to call on one and say, I would like for you to help me remove things in my life that no longer serve me, and we make the pact, seal the deal. But then my life starts to flip upside down. I'm losing friends here and there. I'm losing relationships. My job, I'm losing my job. And I'm going, what the hell? This is not what I asked for. But in reality, it is. That job loss brought you an opportunity through that spirit for a better job and way to make money. That entity was cutting out people that no longer served you for reasons you probably couldn't identify or see before. You know, can you kind of follow like where I'm going with that?
Right. One of the things that
Yes.
I heard you mention in one of your videos was that working with demons is tough love.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And in order to work with demons, and see, this is where my switch got flipped to the other side, was the fact that I was not willing to have those types of things happen in my life. So, and that's really where you have to make the distinction on what is the right thing for you to do in your life. Everybody has, you know, their own way of working with things, and that was just not something I was willing to endure to get what I wanted, you know. But obviously Courtney sees it as a different perspective, and she's okay with that. She's okay with dealing with those types of things, like she said, losing her job, losing her friends, losing relationships, because she knows in the end there's going to be a better outcome for her, but she has to endure that pain.
Right. Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I'm a chicken shit.
That's
So
and we
No.
have sorry, we have a question from Madwitch from Giselle. What do you call demons then? Because I only know them in the fallen angel field, but as I don't follow religion, where do these entities originate, please?
A lot of them were gods or deities under different faces. Before Christianity and religion came in and kind of readapted them, like pagan deities, into demons. I call them demons pretty much because that's what people know them as, but you can use daimon, which also means those who dwell between the realms of like heaven and earth and other realms. But yeah, I hope that answered or helps a little bit. Because you can take, for example, Astaroth. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, the lag. I also identify them as just beings that have never been in physical reality, like we're in physical reality. They're on a higher frequency in another plane, and they exist in another plane. It's interesting because when you ask people of different religions, like for example the Hindu religion, when I've asked people what is the difference between a demon and a god, and they'll say, well, they come from the same place. That's how they've answered me. They come from the same place. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of in that divine realm, however you identify that.
Right. Mm-hmm. See, one perfect example I like to use is take the demon Astaroth. You can find connections that will make you almost certain that she has other faces outside of the demonic hierarchy, like as the goddess Astarte. And then you think of Ishtar in Babylon, and then you follow that further back, and she turns into Inanna. So what they did was they took these old deities or old gods, and then they demonized them to make people afraid of them, and to kind of mass control everybody's beliefs in a sense, so they could rise to power.
I am 100% in agreement with Courtney on this one. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, not necessarily like demon in the religious concept, but a diamond, yes. Yes, in a sense, in a way. If because deities, I mean, I tell people all the time, when you get to know these entities, there's so much more to them than what you find online or what is presented. And you really do start to develop a bond with these entities and really discover as you go along in your path what they are, what they're capable of, what their nature is, how they act, how they interact with you. And they have many different sides to them, almost like a deity, how they're described to have, take Hecate, for example. She is dark, but also known as the protective mother of children, just as another like slight example of the different faces we see in these entities. It's really a repeated pattern or process over the centuries.
Right, but I think with demons, the most prominent factor, though, is their the most prominent factor is working with the darker side of their nature, as opposed to the lighter side of, you know, what Hecate would be, or what the Morrigan would be. You know. Yeah, it is. It's working with the darker side. And with the darker side, it gets a little more, you get a lot more heat, you know?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
At first, when I first started working with them, I can remember the first big guy, because I worked with lesser spirits, you know, kind of beginning there for a few years. The first big guy that I had worked with was Beelzebub.
Oh,
and
nice choice.
he rocked me, man. I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready. You know, I'm gonna go after this big guy now. He's manifesting to me. Man, did he really show me the deal and like, hey, this is how it operates. This is how it works. But what was beautiful about that is I came out on the other side with one perspective on these entities. And I came out of that path working with a completely new and different way of viewing them and understanding more about how they worked, which was really interesting. Now versus me going, oh God, what are they going to do? Now I'm like, ooh, what are they going to do? You know? It is seductive.
It is. It's very seductive. Yeah. I will definitely agree with that. It's very seductive. If it, and again, I always caveat it with, if you're willing to pay the price, because it is an energy exchange. They don't work for free, folks. And you know, it's not like Lent, where you know you give up something you love. I mean, they're going to take something that is truly a sacrifice, you know, something that's really going to hurt. But in the long run, as Courtney said, if you're willing to hang in there, you come out on the other side and it's okay. Oh,
Amber, you have a doppelganger.
uh-oh.
I'm here. I just had to switch. I had to switch devices because it was getting too crazy.
I will definitely agree with that.
Coming in great now, doll.
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
now
good.
you look wonderful.
That was making me crazy. Too much Mercury retrograde going on. I had to grab my laptop. I'm back. I'm normal.
You don't always, you can make pacts with these entities though. So it doesn't sound so like extreme. You are right. And I agree with that. You know, there is a price. But it's also going to depend on which demon you're working with, how great that price is, and what you're asking for. You can do offerings. You can do, like in the packs, I mentioned you exchange with them. So usually you'd ask what they would like in return, and they will answer you. Also, you have other forms of magic or sacrifice, which involves your blood. You can even do sexual rites or sexual energy as well, or have sexual relations with the entities.
You can do that with gods and goddesses as well.
Yes,
Absolutely.
And we see that in mythology. Rochelle asks, Courtney, can you not choose what you sacrifice depending on what demon you're working with?
Yes, absolutely. That's kind of, yep, what I was getting at. Yeah. Although I do have to give you a bit of my appreciation, Jenna, because, I hear a lot of people talk about sacrifice, and true sacrifice must be something that hurts to give up, but something that you're willing to give up. And I think that's a topic that's very interesting, especially when it comes to the left-hand path and working with entities that sometimes call for it. So yeah, that's really interesting, because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions, even when it comes to like sacrifice and what the true meaning of it is. Because I've told people before, people that go out and just slaughter farm animals to do it, and they sacrifice it to Satan. I mean, yeah, but no. Now, if you raised that farm animal, you loved it, you nourished it from a baby, and then you chose to sacrifice it because it was the best valuable thing you could offer to this entity, that would probably be a bit more of a viable sacrifice. So,
and we're not saying to do that, disclaimer.
No.
We're just giving an example from history.
Right. Right.
From history.
Yeah, from history. Yes, exactly.
And
also to add on that, not only for the animal to be a sacrifice, but also that animal was then fully consumed, and it was shared amongst those in the family or who were part of the ritual. So it was not just a sacrifice for a sacrifice. There is a much deeper meaning behind it, because the animal did provide nourishment to those who were there, as well as feeding the demon, so to speak.
Yes. And I also want to add, Mad Witch is mentioning goddesses. We will get to that question, but let's not forget that many of the goddesses throughout history in many different religions have a kind mother face, and then like a demon-like dark face. And we were just talking about it with Julie Kuchia Watts. Yep. And we were just talking and we were just talking about like Hathor and Sekhmet, and it's very interesting. So we've got that, whether you're working with deities or demons, it's the same thing. And that sacrifice goes along with it.
Right. How I choose to do it, just saying, because I don't like to hurt animals. I actually adore animals.
Right. Me too.
I mean, I know it's a bit controversial as well, but I will offer a certain entity, depending on what I ask it to do and what entity it is, the lifeblood from my womb monthly. That's another way. Yeah.
And that's is, in modern times, whether you're right hand or left hand path, that is definitely a very sacred offering, and it's viable in both practices. I agree. And occasionally I do know people who will like prick their fingers or something like that to offer some blood in wine, or yes.
And that's a practice in witchcraft, as working with the goddess as well.
Correct. Right. because our blood is sacred. We're sacred beings.
It's the
And
life
so,
force.
yes, it's life. It's our life force energy.
Here's a question. It says, so you only have to make a sacrifice when working with demons, but not when working with gods?
Some gods require it as well. It depends on who it is, what what your interactions are, and what deal that you're trying to make, or what work you're trying to do with said deity.
Yep.
And remember, the sacrifice may not be physical.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
There are also times I will take something like a prized possession even, and I will sacrifice that, like something that I really love. I've done it with gems, jewelry, other things, and I'll consecrate it and put it on my altar for them, and then bury it in the earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. I will say from my perspective, I have also found that gods and goddesses usually don't require sacrifices. They do like offerings, though. Offerings are, things that you give them to tell them that you appreciate them, you appreciate their being with you in your life, working on your behalf, all of these things. So offerings are something more along the line for a god and goddess, where to me, I'm pretty sure that most demons really want a sacrifice of some kind, because that's just how they work. That's what their nature is. So, it's kind of like tit for tat. I'll do for you, but you got to do for me, kind of thing. Am I wrong, Courtney?
In my opinion, it really depends on the spirit. Like if I was working with Moloch, then I would try to find a sacrifice of some sort.
I don't know that one. Who was the being?
Oh, he's very ancient. The bull one. The bull. Yeah.
I've definitely, that symbol is everywhere.
Yep.
The bull.
You got to get yourself a copy of the Occult Tarot, Amber.
Okay, yes. That's
so if I was working with Moloch, of course I would try to find a sacrifice, or Lamash too, even.
That I know who.
But if it's Beelzebub, Lucifer, they like things like alcohol, tobacco, incense, stones. They very much appreciate offerings as well. And most times, they accept my offerings and don't require too much back. Sometimes it can, but what is that?
It says if you're a smoker, you can give up cigarettes for a month.
Right.
You give up eating meat for a time period. Something that can be extremely difficult. Give up TV or internet. Oh yeah. Like imagine you give up your iPhone for, for a month or whatever.
Yep.
Or forever.
Yep.
I've given up eating recently, actually. I've been doing it that way. That is excellent advice, because that is very much other things you can do as sacrifice.
Fasting, yes.
Yep.
And they do it for gods as well in many different religions. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Give up the internet. Yes.
Give up. Yeah. And you aren't broke? Is it possible?
I don't know.
Oh gosh, that's too funny.
Eating can be hard, but it's done like, especially I'll go back to the Hindu tradition that many people will fast on Tuesdays for Hanuman, for strength, or they will give up all meat on Tuesdays for Hanuman. So there are different kinds of fasts, and that's a god. So
And sometimes it's symbolic. Sometimes when I go in to do a ritual with an entity and I prick my finger or I put a little cut, in the palm of my hand, don't try that at home, kids. But when I, do certain things, this is me, my personal practice and opinion. I have to say that.
Courtney, and also I might add, Courtney is very much an experienced practitioner. She's been doing this for, more than a year. You've been at it for what, 6 or 7 years now, Courtney?
On the left-hand path, yes.
Yes, on the left-hand path.
Witchcraft, about 20.
Right. And you're an adult.
Yes, and she's an adult, exactly.
My gosh, yes. So sometimes it's symbolic though to say, hey, I'm willing to bleed for what I want here, so I'm going to work for this too. So I wanted to add that in there.
Yes. Now, something that I mentioned last time that we were kind of talking about, sometimes I feel like I just had to share you this. Sometimes I feel like Jenna said that it's not actually too common for there to be demons everywhere. And I think that this is where it gets sensationalized, especially in religion, is that people think if you don't do this or you don't do that, you're going to get possessed by a demon, or there's a demon there if you don't do this, or there's a demon there if you don't do that. And then I think that when people experience hauntings or different sorts of paranormal experiences, they tend to go to, is it a demon? And I think that entities get confused with being demons. And we talked a little bit about that last time, but let's talk about it now, because Jenna, you know about that. And you've gone into other people's homes, right? And done cleansings.
Yes. Yes.
And then so has Courtney. So I would love to open up this conversation and sort of the things that you kind of see most often in people's houses.
Okay. Well, for most of the time, it is what I've come across is it's either family members who are hanging around for some reason, or it is a lot of residual energy from whoever has lived there previously, especially if they lived there a long time. They've left their mark on the house. And these people are not always necessarily happy people, People who die horrific deaths can be left behind. Those markers can be left behind, where you can feel that heavy energy. I can speak to the fact that when I moved back into my own house after my partner passed away, walking into the house, it was very, very heavy and that's when I realized that he had been sicker a lot longer than he had let on. And it really permeated the house. I mean, because his energy was full on still hanging in the air. So, that's what I have found in most of my things. And the only other time I've come across an actual entity was a PK, and that's when somebody in the house was doing these things but not realizing that they were doing this. But I personally have never gone into a place and come across a demonic entity or a true portal where people are coming in and out of all kinds. I have never experienced that. I would like to, but
Now, I had an interesting experience. I was staying somewhere in another country, and I was very irritated by this place for no particular reason. And I went to sleep one night, and I had a dream that there was I saw these beings that were coming like in and out. They look kind of like grotesque, kind of like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Ghoulies or something like that. They reminded me of it.
Uh-huh.
But like coming in and out, They were not static. And I mean, they weren't permanent. They were static. And then I kind of like in the dream, there was something about a long, long time ago, someone's son died or was murdered. And that father was so angry that they made some pact with something that they weren't even sure what they were doing. And it brought about these beings. I forgot how many there were. There were like 4 of them. They seemed to be like demons, and they fed off of different stuff. Like one fell off, like it was almost like the electricity in your heartbeat or your electrical energy. It was a very dream. And one fed off something else. And this person had brought them like through a portal, I guess, into this area, and they were feeding off of this area without really knowing what they were doing. I can never verify it, but I was pretty certain that that's what happened.
Probably. I mean, our blood alone has like conduits for different things, and it has to flow through the heart. That doesn't surprise me. And literally in everything, every object, there is energy. But there's something about our energy and our light that can hold a spirit there to feed off of, you know? And I don't feel like it's just like a draining thing where you hear, yes, an entity can drain you, but are they just going to drain you dry till you die? I don't think so, because we're constantly pulling in energy as well as losing energy. So, but I agree with what Jenna said. In most cases, when people would call me up, it either had to do with something on the land or a portal or a PK entity. Mm-hmm. And over time, fragments of energetic, what I call energetic memories, can be left behind, both positive and negative. And when these fragments are left behind, they can accumulate together and form and manifest into an entity, especially if somebody is around the area or living in the house that is dealing with trauma or other toxic relationships, you know, things like that are feeding these fragments that are trying to accumulate and manifest. And oftentimes that is usually what we're dealing with versus a demon. There is only one time that I can remember where I had to go in and help somebody with a demonic entity, and that was because somebody had set it on them in a curse. So
that is nasty.
It is.
It's nasty, and let me tell you, it's nasty to remove too. So good job, Courtney.
Yeah. I'm going to go into, we're getting a lot of questions, so I'm going to dip into some of those questions. Giselle Madwich asks, when you say you work with the left-hand path, this is new to me. So what made you choose the specific path?
Oh, good question. Well, for years, around 14-ish, I started kind of dabbling in the occult. I started reading books, learning about Wicca, you know. Then throughout my adult years, got more into traditional witchcraft, the gray path, you know, light and dark, which I still feel very much that way, that we're all both. So
that's the path I'm on, by the way. Both.
I feel that we're both as well.
Yeah. When I say left-hand path, I mean I am working with a darker shadow essence of light hand path faces when it comes to these beings. I feel like the angels and the demons, most of them with their counterpart, you have the light side and you have the shadow side of a same entity. One of the biggest illusions in this reality is duality. So what does alchemy and all kinds of other occult secrets try to tell us? To merge that duality, that it's gray, it isn't black and white. So I feel spirits are similar, in my opinion. And what drove me to the left-hand path concept was religion and deciphering the bullshit when it came to religion and about them rising to power and totally dominating over all of these other entities that have been in our ancestry for forever before the church came in. And the more I started like researching and diving into that, kind of the more irritated I became when it came to religious organizations. And
I'll throw a hallelujah in there for you.
Me too.
so, and plus, I've always been one of those Scorpio. I've always been drawn to anything dark, anything hidden, anything where most people will recoil at. I'm like, I'm all for it. Let's do this. You know, I might die. Cool. No, but so yeah, I also began watching Michael Ford, and I do respect his work a lot, but that kind of set me on that side of, I got to know this. I got to know this path. I want to explore it. And ultimately now I have concluded that you have to descend before you ascend. We have to know the darker sides of ourselves spiritually, right? We say that all the time with shadow work. But to truly know yourself in the darkest aspects of your psyche is to truly face these entities and work with them, because they will bring out so much of that for you. When you work with them, I always say it's like shadow work accelerated. They will like jumpstart that for you. If you don't want to know about yourself, it ain't a good idea, because your feelings are going to get hurt and you're going to be forced to look at these things about yourself. So then that leaves you with one of two things. Okay, I can keep denying it and reintegrating it into my shadow, or I can decide for myself without programming, without dogma, what is right, what is wrong in my own opinion, and what do I want to stand for. Creating the best version of yourself. So that's kind of my thoughts.
Very well
stated.
Yeah.
Very well stated, Courtney. Yeah.
Thank you. Missy has a question. I have an entity that is following me since I was a kid. You're actually not the first person who said that here. That's very interesting. A medium told me, and I feel like it messes with me. How do I get rid of it? That can be complex.
Yeah, it would also depend on what or who it is. Yeah, I would need to know a bit more about that. How does it mess with your life? And if it doesn't impact it too negatively, I really wouldn't worry too much. It could be a guide, could be an ancestor, or, you know, a spirit that you were friends with as a child, because I had an imaginary friend as a child and it was an entity. Sometimes they stick with you, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think, Jen? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Now there's no lag. I have no excuse. Now I'm just interrupting people.
It's easy to do that. I always do it.
Sorry. Are you complete? Yeah, Jenna, what do you think?
I agree. It could be a spirit guide. It could be an ancestor with you. And if it messes with you, think about it. Try to think about it realistically. After it messes with you, what is the outcome? Are you better for having had it happen, or are you worse off? You know, if you're worse off, then I would definitely have someone investigate that. You know, use your now, Missy. I know you. Use your tarot cards to try and have a conversation with that entity. Let that entity work through your tarot cards. Give that a try and see if you can figure out who or what it is and why it's with you.
I agree. I agree. And if you need help, do seek help. Sometimes you
Yes.
need someone outside of yourself for help, and that's why we have paranormal investigators and people like Jenna and Courtney that people have asked them for help in clearing these things. So absolutely. Absolutely. We have another question, Lady Blind Wolf. But there are some places that are known to have a very high content of paranormal activity. It's like the onion effect. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are some places that do seem to be portals, don't they? And I think it's just that magnetic energy of the earth and where it's positioned, or something major that happened plus that.
Right. Plus, most of these places are old or they have had very traumatic things happen within them for, a great number of years. And that leaves imprints. It also can leave fragments of the people's psyches that live there, to remain there and cause that paranormal activity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
With what you're saying, I had a post down below that Prune to Bloom is saying there was a suicide in my house a year before we bought it. Lots of activity prompted me to look into the house's history, and that's how we found out.
That's common in my experience. But also, I try to tell people, really, anywhere you step, somebody most likely passed. There's most likely history there, It's just kind of one of those things when their realm merges with ours, or they try to stay in our realm.
Okay. This is John's comment. This is an interesting comment. John says, sometimes I feel like I'm cursed and been so unlucky and stupid. I think we all feel like that, John. Hindsight is 2020. Have I got a demon tripping me up?
Well, I'd probably need to know a bit more to offer advice for sure about that. But oftentimes, a lot of us can question that. Even I did, and recently had a friend do a tarot reading because just seems like there's a repeated pattern in my family for 5 generations now of things that the women would go through, particularly on my mother's mom's side going back. Even to me, a lot of similarities. But later I found out that it wasn't due to a curse. It was due to a ritual put in place by distant ancestors. So we're still doing our ancestors' work too, in a sense, as their descendants, spiritually, whether we realize it or not. Or I would really need to know a bit more. But if you were cursed by a demon, I think you would know for sure.
I think so too.
Definitely.
yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
And what that usually looks like is, first, if a demon has been sent on you through a curse or a hex, it's a slow process most of the time. Usually they will be designed to break you down first, mentally and emotionally. Over time, they shatter the psyche. Therefore, that leaves you willing and vulnerable to their attacks further. And then they start breaking down the body, and then the spirit. So it's a really slow, agonizing process, but you would definitely know if you were cursed, considering those type of entities and how they work or operate. You would be... No, that's okay. You would be sure.
I'm only used to interviewing one person. That's maybe my excuse. Or I could blame it on Mercury retrograde. Jenna, what do you think?
I have to absolutely agree with Courtney. With hexes and curses, those take time. They don't just magically appear and destroy someone. That's not how it works. It's far more insidious to have something like that happen where you will absolutely know that you're under a curse or a hex. Because as Courtney says, it is a slow, painful process, because whatever demon they have sent, you have to understand that the demons enjoy suffering. They do. That's also a part of their darker nature.
Some of them
So
do feed off
to
of it.
do
don't
this, to do this work, the hexing and cursing, this demon is deriving some kind of pleasure out of destroying your life, little by little, piece by piece. And so that's why it is a slow process. That's my opinion. What do you think, Courtney?
I agree to an extent. I say, I mean, I disagree hard in like that they just take joy out of it. I say that they're in that gray area. They do not have concept of morality the same way that a human being would. So to them, it's neither really right or wrong. It just is what it is.
They tend to operate on different kind of rules where we think of morality and there is none. Like it's just different.
Right.
Like etiquette,
Right.
when you think of the Fae or the sheep,
Right. Yes.
it's like a different set of etiquette.
Right.
But I do believe
it's almost like a hitman. He doesn't care. He's just got a job to do.
Right.
Right.
But I do believe that there are some entities that can be considered demonic that do feed off of that energy.
Of course.
Maybe not in the way that a human might derive pleasure. If, you know, someone's like not right and they derive pleasure out of it. I believe that they feed off of that anxious energy or that energy.
Yes. And I guess that, you know, that's actually a better way really of describing it. My word of joy really didn't fit.
I tell people to kind of tend to look at it like, for example, take the TV show True Blood minus the actual just vampire concept and look at the vampire's natures in that. Are they really the bad guys then if it's in their nature? It's kind of how I feel. And if you're going to kill something anyway, you eat it, right? You don't want it to go to waste. So why not drain their life force if I was sent to kill them type of thing?
Right.
Does that make sense?
And that's, I guess that's kind of the concept that I'm trying to get across, because I want people to realize that this is their nature. This is what they're built to do, or this is how they've appeared, and this is what they're supposed to do, because I want people to have a real true understanding about what I consider some of the harder aspects of working with demons, because I want people to be clear on the harder aspects. Whereas most people are like, oh, yay, I'm working with the demon. Yay, he's going to do this. He's going to do that.
Yeah,
and
like the genie.
He's going to take a chunk out of your hide. You know, they're not ready for that. So I think that's why I'm trying to express the harder points of working with demons. Not so much that, like you said, it's an emotional response or a morality response. That's us. A demon is just doing what a demon does.
They are capable of love and compassion and empathy, though. I do want to put that out there. They are very much capable of that. I agree people should heed and take note of their nature and how they operate and note that. But I feel like there's a lot of fear based in that. And I don't want people to be afraid. I think if they understand them more and how they operate and like their nature, then that will kind of break down some of those fearful barriers that people have approaching working with these entities.
Absolutely. But I feel like there's 2 points there. That one, you don't have to be scared that there's a demon lurking behind every corner and that you're going to be possessed every second, because that's highly unlikely. or that you're cursed by a demon. It's also highly unlikely. It does happen. It's highly unlikely. And then at the same time, don't take it lightly, because it's a path that, Courtney, it's a path that takes dedication and work and sacrifice.
And once you start, it won't stop too.
Right.
Once
Just
you open,
you're like, that's enough.
Yeah. Be well prepared.
Exactly. Be prepared.
Right.
Rochelle says, and John, this is in response to you as well. I can put those kind of attachments on ourselves because I truly believe we are co-creators of our realities. Our own thoughts and emotions can be our worst enemy by creating attachments on ourselves. And that is more likely than the other scenarios. The other scenarios are, they can happen, but this is more likely in general reality. Everyone's not sending demons after everyone.
Right.
We understand that
absolutely.
to do that means you are literally destroying a person. Like you are literally destroying everything about them. So a lot of people aren't just that understand it. They're not just gonna sling these entities on you or hexes and curses, because they understand it's a very real and very permanent type of deal.
And I feel like those people that don't really know what they're working with, that's when it sort of gets like reflected back on them first.
Right.
Like the people that are just playing around and let's get together and do a ritual because it's fun and I found it in this book.
Well, then they're going to give you what you're looking for. They're going to be like, oh, you want to know if I'm real? Poof, bitch.
You want some entertainment? Here's some entertainment.
Exactly. Which, if the shoes were on the other feet, though, and I'm the demon, I'd react the same. You're summoning me out of my realm. You're pulling me into Malkuth and materializing me here. Well, and you mean to tell me you don't have a valid reason why?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
I
agree. Now,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to really ask Courtney more about, you spoke about their love and their empathy and caring, but that's only for their chosen own, right? That would only be for those people who are left-hand path followers, because I have never known any demon to show that someone hasn't been working with to show any kind of empathy or love or caring. So can you explain that more to me? Because I would like to understand that better.
All right. First, we need to quit viewing them as like the religious, scary entities. View them similar to how you would a deity. And that right there alone will put a lot into perspective. There are many times I can look back before I had started on the left-hand path where I can name certain demons that were pointing me in certain directions, helping my spiritual evolution, even though I wasn't even aware of it at the time until later when I worked with it. And I hear this with other people as well. There are times, one time, Belial had actually saved my life. And there are times they've given me things for free or taught me things for free, abilities or important lessons that really helped enhance my spiritual development and growth. If they didn't have any empathy for us, they wouldn't even bother with us. Most of the things that they ask for in return are not completely complicated or too hard. It's usually to prove a point or show you something or show you an experience. They very much want us to evolve, because if human races don't evolve, other higher dimensions are not evolving. If they had no care at all and were just out solely to attack or destroy somebody, or only had chosen ones. Now, I'm not saying they can't favoritize certain people. They can. But there are many instances and many practitioners that say they can name when demons have helped them before they even realized that they were demons growing up in their path.
I understand what you're saying, because in Siberian shamanism, there is a saying, they say that the spirits choose you as a shaman or practitioner, that they have chosen you before you've started. So I can see what you're saying.
Yes,
like,
that's yes. I absolutely agree with you, Amber. They chose you before you chose them, which is like I said, or maybe I didn't say it properly, but it would be different for someone like me, because I'm not a chosen one. I know I'm not a chosen one. And so for me to call a demon, it would probably have devastating results if I didn't know what I was doing, type of thing. Whereas they chose you to call you on this path, so they were helping and to move you closer to them.
Well, if you go by like the left-hand path concept or Luciferianism, it is a path to your own enlightenment using these entities. It is very much a spiritual self-serving path. Do I myself believe like in the chosen thing? Not necessarily, only because I feel like any of us could achieve that. Any of us could walk that path to self-enlightenment through these entities or through their doctrines or ideology or principles. And I feel like a lot of people would have great success,
I was going to say, I agree with you. I think anyone who wants to walk a path absolutely can walk a path. And when you're doing that, once you're involved and working with them, I can see how the love and care and empathy would show itself to you, the practitioner. But if you weren't a practitioner, then you're not going to see probably that love and empathy and caring unless they decided you were like one of their chosen.
Does that
make sense?
I get what you're saying. I think that we're all like called to different paths. And so all of us are called to work with different ways or things. And Courtney, if you're working with the demonic realm, it would have a different connection than if Jenna were to like be like, okay, well, I want to try it because she's trying it. She's not actually called to it. Is that what you're?
Yes.
I think you feel it. It's like a heart connection. You feel it. It's a spiritual connection. Because
I can agree with that.
It's like, I'm not called to work with Bastet, or someone may be called to work with, if we put it in those terms, I think it makes more, to work with Woden, and other people are not at all. They're like, I have no connection. If I forced myself, it wouldn't have a good outcome.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying to force yourself. I just wanted to, where I was going with that was I just want people to understand that it isn't like I can't do it for this reason and this reason type of thing. I wanted people to understand that if you wanted to walk that path, that you could, and right.
If you feel absolutely. If you want to walk that path, you absolutely can. And I also agree with you that the Christian form of demons needs to be put to bed. We have had enough years of that, and that is what Christians were all about, are still all about, is the fear mongering, controlling people with fear factor. And I think we have all evolved beyond that issue. And I think that's why we can have this great discussion about demons, because it is not church-based fear mongering. That's not
Right.
what we're doing here, you know?
I think it's amazing that we're in this time of sharing information, and it's a time where if you are called to work with the left-hand path or with demons, as we're calling it, or daemons or diamonds or whatever you want to call it, that it is a known path to enlightenment.
Yes.
And that if you are called to it, don't be afraid to explore it. And
Yes.
Courtney's channel, Eerie Witchcraft, in the description box, is a great place to begin exploring it.
Right. The other thing too I want to mention as well, putting it out there, is that Courtney is no less of a good person or bad person than she ever was before. Working the left-hand path does not mean that you are a bad person, or that you're doing bad things to people. That is so sensationalized. That is not what it is about at all. So I don't want people to go away thinking badly or anything, because Courtney's a lovely person, and this is how she's finding her way, and it works fantastically for her, and that's fabulous.
Thank you.
Right.
I really appreciate that. I do. Thank you, Jen.
Yes, absolutely. So if you want to learn more about this path, and you want to understand, there's still some questions like, what is it? I think you should go check out Courtney's channel, and you should go join some of her talks that she has about angels and demons and all of these things. And there's so much more than we can even talk about in an hour.
Absolutely.
We could probably keep going all night.
We could go all night. I mean, this was just like a, tip of the iceberg sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
this was great. This was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was so lovely finally being able to be with Courtney face to face for once. It was.
And something I want to point out here, because I'm so big on community. See how we just had a perfect discussion and healthy debate and disagreements, but we're all smiling and still okay?
Yes.
It worked.
It worked.
I put it in a bunch of my things. Like the Talmud said, wise is the one who learns from everyone, because we are all part of the cosmic mind, the divine mind, and we're all in different bodies. So it behooves you to listen and learn from everyone.
Right.
Right.
So this has been a real treat. Thank you, Jenna, and thank you, Courtney. You know what's on Courtney's channel. Remember, if you haven't subscribed to Jennifer Ball's Witch House, please do so. She has so many cool indie decks, and I've got to check out that Occult Tarot, right?
Yes. Yes.
And she has a lot of witchy knowledge and a lot of deep knowledge. So please do go check out her channel and subscribe to Courtney's channel and check her out too. This was such a pleasure. I want to thank you, ladies. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments down below and we'll get back to you, because I'm sure we can continue the conversation. And I want to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful weekend that's coming up. I know it's Thursday. Happy Lunar New Year if anyone's celebrating. And we'll see you all again soon. Stay on there, ladies. And I will end this.
Thanks so much, Amber. Thanks,
Courtney.
Thank you.
Bye,
this was
guys.
so much fun. Bye, everyone. See you again.